in the hope that somebody will come along and say, there's money in this, let's support Meghan and her as ever brand. I thought she behaved so badly, and Harry too.
The Supreme Court in London has never seen a scene like this before. Forget Netflix specials, Oprah sit-downs, or endless speeches about privacy. What exploded inside courtroom number 7 ripped straight through the polished fairy tale surrounding Harry and Meghan when investigative journalist Tom Bower stepped forward and calmly dropped 2 names, Trevor Engleson and Operation Cuckoo. The room cracked wide open. Harry froze in his seat, color draining from his face. Meghan bolted from the courtroom in tears, her carefully managed image collapsing in real time, right in front of the monarchy and the world. This wasn't gossip or tabloid noise. This was sworn testimony delivered by a man known for ending careers with hard proof, not rumors.
Really hard to look back on it now and go, what on earth happened?
Bower doesn't speculate. He documents, verifies, and destroys narratives with receipts. And what he placed on the record raised explosive questions about Archie's parentage that could shake the line of succession itself. This wasn't a scandal whispered online. It was a legal grenade tossed into the heart of royal history. And suddenly, the Sussex brand looked dangerously fragile. January 2026. London skies felt heavy, not just gray. Crowds packed outside the Supreme Court, not for a routine case, but to witness something historic.
Now, someone with a sharp set of eyes has noticed perhaps a mistruth in the Oprah interview.
Either the collapse of modern royalty or the exposure of a carefully protected deception. Inside courtroom 7, tension pressed down like a weight. Journalists filled every seat, pens hovering, waiting. Then Bower entered, silver-haired, sharp-eyed, and ice-cold. A man who doesn't tell stories, he dismantles them. His target this time wasn't a corporation or a disgraced executive, it was the foundation of the royal bloodline itself. Harry sat stiff, eyes hollow, no fire left, just dread. Meghan still looked polished, but her hands betrayed her, gripping her bag until her knuckles went white. Then Bower spoke, slow, deliberate, lethal. He skipped the drama and went straight for the core, Archie Harrison's bloodline. When he said Trevor Engleson's name alongside genetic comparison results, the courtroom went dead silent. Gasps rippled through the legal teams. Harry stared ahead, shattered, as pieces of his past snapped together in a way he could no longer ignore. And Meghan? No defiant stare, no sharp denial, just collapse. Emotional, public, undeniable. The truth didn't whisper that day. It detonated. Tears streamed down her face as she shot to her feet and rushed out of the courtroom, almost running, leaving stunned security behind. The heavy wooden door slammed shut, echoing like a full stop on a once glossy Cinderella story. The room froze. Why would a journalist like Tom Bower choose this exact moment to pull the pin? The answer, according to sworn claims presented in court, was something called Operation Cuckoo, a file alleged to carry enough weight to rattle an entire dynasty. To grasp why this testimony hit so hard, you have to understand the man delivering it. Bower isn't some online commentator spinning late-night theories. He's a former lawyer and longtime BBC investigative reporter with decades of experience taking on people who thought they were untouchable. His past work has targeted powerful figures, media giants, politicians, industry bosses, and the pattern is always the same. He doesn't move unless the paperwork is stacked and verified. When he published Revenge in 2022, his reporting on Meghan Markle caused waves, but what he outlined in this courtroom went even further, at least according to his testimony. Under sharp questioning from Meghan's legal team, Bower stayed cool and unmoved. No drama, no speculation. He asked the clerk to display a detailed timeline covering 2013 to 2018, what he described as a period of overlaps. He focused on 2013, when Meghan finalized her divorce from Trevor Engleson. The public story painted a clean break, but Bauer alleged records told a messier version. Hotel stays, phone logs, and staff statements were cited as part of the claim that some connections didn't fully end. The courtroom leaned in. These weren't rumors. They were presented as documents. Bauer pointed to unexplained gaps during Meghan's time filming Suits, gaps he said aligned with quiet travel by one specific individual. And just like that, the mood shifted, heavy, tense, and impossible to ignore. The temperature inside the courtroom seemed to drop in an instant. What truly sent a chill through everyone present wasn't just what Tom Bauer said. It was how he said it. Calm, controlled, and unsettling, Bauer explained that his information didn't come from rumors or outsiders, but from palace gatekeepers themselves. These were longtime staff members, people who lived behind the velvet curtains of Kensington Palace, individuals whose entire careers were built on silence and loyalty. For nearly a decade, they said nothing. But, according to Bauer's sworn account, the scale of confusion surrounding the Sussexes, paired with documented inconsistencies, pushed them to finally speak. That alone shook the room. Palace insiders breaking centuries of protocol isn't casual. It signals something they believed could no longer be buried. Bauer insisted the doubts raised weren't rooted in hostility or gossip, but in logic and procedure. He laid out a series of questions the court couldn't brush aside. Why were details surrounding Archie's birth so unclear? Why were traditional signatures from royal medical staff absent, breaking long-standing custom? And why, he asked, were official birth records later amended? These weren't framed as accusations. They were presented as unresolved procedural anomalies forming the backbone of his argument. But the impact didn't stop with Meghan Markle. Without directly attacking him, Bauer cast serious doubt on Prince Harry's judgment, portraying him as a man guided by emotion while critical questions went unchallenged. Bauer claimed internal security briefings existed, documents allegedly created before the wedding, flagging concerns about lingering figures from Meghan's past. The courtroom leaned in as he described the weight of those reports, not loud or theatrical, but precise and controlled. Then came the line that froze the room. Bauer looked straight at Harry and said the truth doesn't belong to families, institutions, or feelings. It simply exists, whether people are ready or not. And suddenly, this wasn't framed as a private dispute anymore. It felt historic. Attention turned to Trevor Engleson, the so-called forgotten Hollywood figure. Bauer didn't paint him as irrelevant. He described him as someone who knew Meghan long before the spotlight, someone who understood her ambitions, habits, and strategies. The final question lingered heavy in the air. Could someone so calculated truly sever every connection before securing the next chapter? Based on alleged records, Bauer pointed to what he described as unusual communication patterns during 2016 and early 2017. And with that, the room went silent once again. While cameras captured romantic moments between Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, Tom Bauer alleged that a far more complicated reality existed behind the scenes. According to his testimony, Meghan maintained discreet lines of communication with Trevor Engleson, using anonymous email accounts and encrypted messaging platforms. Bauer framed this not as romance, but as strategy. He suggested these channels were allegedly used to discuss Hollywood opportunities, and possibly to preserve a backup plan if royal life collapsed. No emotions, just positioning. But the most explosive part of Bauer's argument centered on what he called the genetic timeline. Cold, methodical, and deeply unsettling. He questioned why Meghan pushed for a wedding at such speed, before palace systems fully engaged and before routine protocols tightened. According to Bauer, the urgency wasn't passion. It was timing. He argued that by late 2018, Meghan faced a biological reality that demanded immediate action. If conception occurred during a period of overlapping relationships, she would have faced a defining choice: a former partner with no status versus a prince with global power. Bauer alleged the decision wasn't emotional, but calculated, a move based on influence, protection, and future leverage. He emphasized this wasn't about personal drama. If his claims were accurate, and if Archie did not share Harry's bloodline, then the issue wouldn't be private at all. It would be constitutional. A child without royal lineage appearing in the succession would represent a procedural crisis, not a scandal headline. Bauer went further, suggesting the 2020 royal exit wasn't solely about privacy or public pressure. He framed it as avoidance, a strategic relocation away from institutional oversight, medical protocols, and scrutiny that might intensify as the child grew. Harry sat frozen, confronted with the possibility that the sacrifices he made, family, country, legacy, may have been built on incomplete truth. Bauer ended this section with a single chilling question that swallowed the room in silence. Why, when doubts allegedly surfaced inside palace walls, was there such urgency to move Harry and the child to California, a place where privacy laws offer the strongest shield? According to Bauer, the Trevor connection wasn't history anymore. It was unresolved business. It wasn't the past anymore. It was the present, and it was ripping straight through the Sussex future. According to Tom Bauer, the palace didn't stay silent out of weakness. Silence became strategy, and strategy became complicity. Many assume Buckingham Palace freezes when scandal hits, but Bauer told the court the opposite is true. Under the late Queen Elizabeth II, the Crown treated bloodline as non-negotiable. No shortcuts, no emotions, just survival. Bauer dropped a courtroom bombshell. He claimed that shortly after Archie's birth at Portland Hospital in May 2019, internal procedures quietly kicked off. Public celebrations outside, locked doors inside. What he described as a routine health review allegedly served a far more sensitive purpose: institutional verification. So where are the results now? According to sources Bauer attributed to palace insiders, those records were sealed and secured deep within palace grounds, allegedly stored in a restricted location accessible only to top-ranking family members. The obvious question hung heavy. If there was nothing concerning, why not release it? Bauer's answer was cold and political. In 2019, the monarchy was already under extreme pressure from the Prince Andrew scandal. Another credibility crisis tied to succession would have pushed public trust past the breaking point. Bauer suggested senior royals, including King Charles III and Prince William, faced an impossible choice: transparency with catastrophic fallout or silence to preserve the institution. According to Bauer, they chose silence. That silence, he argued, became protection. And Meghan Markle allegedly understood it perfectly. Shielded by what the palace couldn't afford to expose, she was free to strike back through interviews and documentaries without fear of rebuttal. But the sharpest edge of Bauer's testimony cut toward Prince Harry. He framed Harry not as a villain, but as a tragic figure, defending, sacrificing, and fighting, possibly without full information. According to Bauer, the sealed report wasn't just an allegation, it was a warning, a reminder that fairy tales collapse fast when truth is locked away and loyalty replaces clarity. If what Tom Bauer told the court is accurate, then Archie, currently listed 7th in line, would have no direct connection to the Windsor bloodline at all. When this claim hit the courtroom in January 2026, it exposed the long-term cost of silence, a price so high it now threatens to torch everything built on it. In royal diplomacy, silence is often praised as restraint. But after Bauer's testimony, the silence coming from Montecito doesn't feel strategic. It feels heavy, loaded, and impossible to ignore. Let's strip emotion away and look at patterns with cold logic. Meghan Markle has a long history of fast, aggressive legal action. She's sued major outlets over privacy disputes, challenged unflattering coverage, and pursued defamation claims without hesitation. Yet in the face of an allegation that could shatter her public image and redefine her child's future, there's been no legal counterstrike. Why no immediate lawsuit against Bauer? Why allow the names Trevor Engleson and Operation Cuckoo to circulate globally for weeks without challenge? The fastest way to shut this down would be radical transparency, an independent, witnessed verification that ends all doubt. But instead, there's retreat, distance, and silence. That silence screams precisely because it breaks character. Then there's Prince Harry, painted by Bauer not as an aggressor, but as the most tragic figure in the storm. Sources describe isolation, withdrawal, and a man cut off from everything he once knew. Imagine sacrificing titles, protection, family ties, and national identity, only to face the possibility that those sacrifices were made without full clarity. If the claims were ever proven, the consequences would reach far beyond protocol. A child's identity, sense of belonging, and future understanding of self would be shaken at its core. For Harry, there would be no simple return, only the weight of having defended something he may never have fully understood. Bauer warned the court that truth doesn't stay buried forever. If the documents he referenced ever surface in future proceedings, Parliament itself could be forced to step in. At that point, this stops being personal drama and becomes a national reckoning. So who holds the final card? Bauer and his network, Buckingham Palace and its long game, or Meghan herself, possibly holding proof that could either clear everything or collapse it all? The courtroom session may have ended, but the shockwaves are just getting started. Calls for parliamentary action are growing louder by the day. Constitutional experts are now being consulted, and for the first time in modern history, the very line of succession may be forced under official review. If Parliament of the United Kingdom steps in, this won't be media noise. It becomes state business. An investigation would demand sworn testimony, legal subpoenas, and hard evidence. DNA records would be examined. Trevor Engleson could be questioned under oath. Communications, travel records, and timelines between 2016 and 2018 would be dissected piece by piece. This wouldn't be speculation. It would be a full constitutional inquiry into the legitimacy of a royal heir. For Prince Harry, the emotional fallout would be devastating. Every cherished memory, every proud moment as a father could suddenly feel unstable. The man who walked away from his entire world to protect his family might discover he was guarding something he never fully understood. And then there's Archie, an innocent child dragged into a storm he didn't create. If doubts surrounding identity ever became official, the psychological impact would be severe. A child's sense of self, history, and belonging isn't abstract, it's foundational. The damage would be deep and lasting. This case is far from finished. Tom Bauer's testimony was only the opening move. Sources suggest additional materials exist, documents, communications, and possibly direct testimony yet to surface. The Sussex legal team faces a brutal crossroads. Sue for defamation, and they trigger discovery, opening doors to compelled records and sworn examinations. Stay silent, and the allegations gain weight with every passing day. Buckingham Palace isn't spared either. Confirm the claims and admit to years of concealment, deny them without proof, and risk further disclosures that suggest complicity. No clean exits anywhere. The only ones thriving? The tabloids, enjoying their biggest frenzy since the death of Princess Diana. For everyone else, Meghan Markle, Harry, Archie, and the monarchy itself, this is a slow-burning catastrophe. And one final question hangs heavy. If Bauer were exaggerating or lying, why hasn't he been sued into the ground? His claims were made under oath. Perjury isn't a slap on the wrist, It's career-ending and prison-level serious. Would a journalist of his stature gamble everything on fiction? That silence answers louder than words. If there's truly nothing to hide, why not end the noise instantly? One simple step. A single, independent DNA test, verified by neutral experts, would shut down every rumor overnight. Yet instead, there's silence. And silence always invites suspicion. If the palace genuinely holds documentation proving Archie's place in the Windsor bloodline, why keep it locked away? What possible purpose does secrecy serve if transparency would clear everything in one move? And if Prince Harry is completely confident in the truth, why did courtroom photos show a man visibly shaken, eyes down, expression hollow, unable to face the room? These questions don't come with easy answers, and that's exactly why the world can't look away. What started as a globally celebrated fairy tale now risks being remembered as the most disturbing unraveling in modern royal history. Tom Bower's testimony didn't just challenge a narrative, it tore the curtain down. Whether you see his claims as serious warnings or a ruthless attack, one fact remains. The questions he raised refuse to disappear. They echo louder with every day of silence. As Bower stated in court, truth doesn't belong to PR teams, legal strategies, or institutions. It simply exists, and no amount of image control can bury it forever. For Harry, a man driven by a lifelong fear of media harm, the irony is brutal. His efforts to protect family privacy may have triggered the most intense scrutiny imaginable. For Meghan Markle, the stakes couldn't be higher. If these claims are ever validated, everything tied to credibility and public trust collapses in an instant. And for Archie, an innocent child, the consequences cut deepest, regardless of how the truth unfolds. As for the British monarchy, an institution that has survived centuries of crisis, this may be its ultimate stress test in the age of DNA verification and radical transparency. We'll continue following every development closely. If you want updates as this story unfolds, subscribe now, turn on notifications, and stay locked in. Now I want to hear from you. Do you believe Bower's sworn testimony? Should DNA evidence be released immediately? Is Harry aware, or the ultimate victim? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, share, and let's talk, because this storm is only getting started.